Yes, welcome. From a beautiful summer in Denmark. And there's Mikkel from Denmark. Yeah. I'm here in my retreat cabin, and today I tried to prepare for the teachings, and I just discovered that this kind of analytical approach, as much as I value it and as much as I benefited from it, is just not my, I don't know, it's just not my style anymore. So it's a good discovery that I picked a book which is actually not not my way anymore to explore the teachings on emptiness. So I gave up on trying to understand the Prasankhika Madhyamika reasoning in the book. And like the last time, I want to more experientially explore and raise some questions, and maybe share some of the questions and pointers and ways of looking which are helpful for me. In one of the feelings or questions which came up now, because I talked a little bit before with Pat about the terrifying pictures of New York. So one question we could ask ourselves today together is, how do the teachings on emptiness help us to respond to what is happening? Because of course the images of New York, you have been in there and they have been seen in the world. They are happening everywhere, and our practice in exploring emptiness can't be disconnected from what is happening in the world. It's not, I mean, exploring emptiness and meditating on emptiness is not something which we do just privately on a cushion, and we might find some spaciousness or some relaxation in them. But how does the recognition of emptiness, and the recognition of emptiness is the recognition, as we explored last time, is the recognition of interdependency, of co-emerging, of interbeing. So how does that support us in the way we respond, in the way we engage with what is happening? And I don't have answers, but I like to ask the question and just bring the teachings on emptiness, which also are the teachings on compassion, because emptiness and compassion and love, they are very much connected. The deepening of the insight into emptiness is also a deepening into openness and connection and love and courage. How do we engage in the world which we can't save? Because it's beyond saving. Samsara is unfixable. How does the teachings on emptiness and compassion support us in adapting to what is coming? And how does the teachings on emptiness and compassion, which are really the two wings, yeah? So they are not separate from each other. They belong together. How does the teachings on emptiness and compassion can nurture our courage not to give up our land? Not to give up your land. How does the teachings on emptiness and compassion helps us to respond in the most kind, loving, and constructive way? How can we give up without giving up? How can we give up of the dream to save the world without giving up on love, on care, on doing the right thing? Keep on planting trees. How do the teachings on emptiness and compassion support us to come together as tribes, as we do now? Because one thing is sure, it's not something to respond alone. You know, we need Sangha, we need tribes, joining hands. And how do the teachings on emptiness and compassion support you to feel the despair, the sadness, the grief, the anger, the fear? Because one thing is sure, to the expectation that an insight into emptiness and compassion would make us numb or non-human, standing above everything. That's a complete illusion. It's actually the opposite. It opens your heart so much that you actually feel more. But you can afford to feel more. So let's start with a bit of settling. And coming together as a Sangha, as the tribe of the peaceful warriors, the non-violent warriors. So you take your seat, your posture, and the posture is such a beautiful symbol or beautiful mudra of our tribe, of the Bodhisattva tribe, the Mahayana tribe. So when we take this seat, we take them together with all the peaceful warriors before us and who are alive today and who will be alive after us and who will keep the fire burning, the fire of wisdom and love. That's what we protect with our tribe, with our Sangha, with our lineage. Passing on that fire. And if you like, you can close your eyes. If your eyes are open, you relax them. And then sliding into present moment awareness, which is also a sense of dropping into the body. And the breath is helping us in this shift. So it's a shift away, a little away from the world of fantasies and stories, and a shift a little away from the world of the narrative self, the world of the mini-me, into reality, you could say, into present moment awareness. So how's the inner weather? And there's sensations in the body, but maybe you can also have a bit of a sense how you feel in this moment. It's a bit more subtle than just the sensations in the body. And there can be a bit of anchoring with the breath or with your hands or other parts of your body. But the tendency is more into opening, letting this moment be as it is. In a non-striving, non-fixing, non-controlling way. Allow the breath to flow as it wants to flow. And it might be possible for you to connect with the wonderment of being alive. To just appreciate that you are here, that there is experience, that there is aliveness, presence. And returning. There's this little gesture back into the body when you notice that you get up into the surface of the narrative self. So then you slide back with the breath and open from there. Open to all your experiences, including the sounds around you. But you do it from the body. And then let's more consciously step into the sacred space or the temple or the gompa of our meeting. And we invite our refuge field, which is very personal, but part of your refuge field could be the Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa, Tara. So we call upon symbols, images, which connect us with the Mahayana courage, the Mahayana wisdom, the Mahayana love. Surrounding us, inspiring us, protecting us. But also when necessary to challenge us a bit. And in that we are just resting, trusting that we are welcomed as we are. And that we don't need to put on any mask or shell or coat around us. We can just soften into our own beingness, into our own energy. And connecting with Lama Zopa Rinpoche or His Holiness the Dalai Lama, or other masters, teachers, Buddhist or non-Buddhist, male and female. Sometimes it's possible for us to kind of get a sense, an experience of the embodiment of the union of love and wisdom. without understanding. It's just like a symbolic way to feel. Walk in the shoes of His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And it might be that within you, you find a yearning or a longing to become like them. Knowing, because you know them, knowing that it is actually possible for a human being to go beyond self-centeredness, to go beyond fear. And maybe right now that is not your primary motivation to wake up in Dalai Lama-hood or Lama Zopa Rinpoche-hood. But this meeting, this virtual room, the Shantideva Center, exists because of that. And stay within the felt sense of your body, just being. You don't need to do anything with my words. Just notice what happens when they land within you. Softening and opening. Receiving sounds, sensations, even thoughts are allowed. You really just don't emphasize them so much. And if you are really entangled into a story, the possibility there is to actually step into that room and feel the story in your body. The energy of the story in your body. And emphasizing that instead of the words. And then you might fall a bit deeper. Something might open up as you let go of grasping by letting everything be as it is. The grasping relaxes. And you go deeper. Where do you land? Where do you land when you let go of control, trying to get somewhere, trying to figure things out? And something opens up and you fall. Where do you land? And if you land into something which seems to be solid or contracted, see if you can go beyond. What's behind or beyond? Or whatever your experience is right now, whatever is in the foreground, sensations, feelings, sounds, thoughts, sight. If you silently say to yourself, I or me, What are you referring to? And then you look there. So if there's an I or me, it should be findable. So in this bit meditative state of present moment awareness, you say I or me, and that's a word, that's a sound, a thought. But what is it referring to? And so you don't go into thoughts, not thinking about it. Because that would be just thoughts. So I, me. In other words, who is meditating? I am meditating. I am breathing. I. And then you look there. What do you find? And whatever you find is either sensations or thoughts. But sensations and thoughts, they can't think. Where is the owner, the experiencer, the controller, the I? And you can say just I or me. And then you look, what are you referring to with these words? And really look around. Yeah? Don't stick just with one channel or one aspect of the field of your experience right now. Look for the I in the sensations, in the sound, in the sight, and in thought. Look for the I in your feelings. I, the me, myself. I who is meditating, the I who is thinking, the I who has feelings, the I who makes decision, the I who has a body. So the I. And if you get much into thoughts, then you look for the I having thoughts. And you find your own pace in it. So you repeat it, not too quick and not too slow. And try to let go of the seduction of the conceptual mind. And if you're finding something like a sense of I somewhere, is that really the I? Can that be the I? Look, just look. When you look at that, is this the I? And of course, if the answer is yes, yes, this is the I, then you could ask, but who is looking? Are there two eyes? The I which is aware and the I which is found. So there's two eyes. But we are looking for one eye. We're looking for me. It's only one. It's not many. So not finding the I and resting right there, that's a meditation on emptiness. Without implying anything. Just not finding and resting in the non-finding. And then let's just open again our awareness into the whole body, into your surroundings. Open, choiceless awareness without doing anything. Then possibility of some wonderment. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm aware. And then opening your eyes if they are closed. So that little exercise is something one could repeat also in daily life. And as I said, before, as a Bodhisattva baby, we are particular lightening up in situation where we are triggered. I mean, lightening up in the sense that we take our seat and we see this as an opportunity. So we are grateful is maybe a bit too much. That's for the advanced, but we become curious. Yeah, we become curious about triggers, any kind of triggers. And it's good not to start with your worst childhood trauma, but just with someone, how is it called? Like cut you in traffic, or I don't know, these little daily things. And with lightening up, I mean, it's like this, yeah, wow, here it is. Yeah, I'm contracting. I'm starting to get reactive. Defensive patterns come up. Yeah, and there's this called mindfulness bell in the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh. So they have this random bell they ring in their communities, like throughout the day. And when the bell rings, everyone stops and pauses with whatever they do. And they take a breath and they feel what's going on. So what could be a mindfulness bell for us is the triggers. And then there's different possibilities then, of course, depending on what kind of practice you explore. But here the suggestion is, if it's available, it's not a beginner's practice, but if it's available, to look for the I, the one who feels threatened, the I which feels the situation shouldn't be like it is. Something, the I which wants this moment to be different than it is. The I which is afraid in this moment, or whatever the feeling is. But who is that? Who is that I? So, and if you have done the kind of meditations which also are within the book of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, so if you have thought about it and you have done it in a kind of more formal way, then you can come to a bit of an experience of not finding, like there is no center here, there is nobody here who is criticized. There's sensations, and there's the breath, and there's feelings, and there's habits, and so on and so on, but there is not like a core, there's no center. Yeah. So in that moment, so when the I is not being found, there is a bit of a release, like there can be a bit of a relief. So don't have the expectations that the feelings go away. That some people have that expectation when you realize, when you have a taste of not finding the I, that suddenly all difficult feelings and habits are gone. It's not the case. That's a childish expectations. your patterns and your reactivity, they have their own life, they have their own power, they run without an I. They already do run without an I. It's not that through the realization of emptiness that we destroy something, or that something something dissolves or something like this. It is a recognition that it was never there. So don't fall into the trap to think that, oh, I have not realized selflessness because I'm still afraid. Yeah, the question is there still someone there being afraid? And who is that? And in the beginning of the meditation, I asked that question: how can the recognition of emptiness help us to be with the almost unbearable feelings of anger, despair, outrage, fear, overwhelm regarding the climate collapse? The answer here is we can be a container, particularly within a sangha, particularly with co-regulation. This is a very important point. One reason why you almost don't want to lean into the climate collapse as a fact. I mean, it's not like it's a fact. It's happening. Because you feel you have to be with these feelings alone. But we are much stronger when we, as human beings, when we co-regulate difficult feelings with others, when we hold them together. And here in our sacred space, we also hold them together with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and with the whole lineage. So we are in a sacred space which can hold all human feelings. So the other, and this is just random thoughts about this, so I'm not giving like a conclusive lecture here. No, the one thing is the self-grasping, the self-grasping, which is this identification with an I. So, and again, we're talking about a particular I here. We're talking about the I which does not exist, and that I has three characteristics, as I said before, I think in the first meeting. It's lasting, it's unitary, and it seems to exist out of itself, inherently, self-powered, separately. So it comes with a sense of separation, as if you, this unitary, singular, so it's the same, unitary and singular, I mean the same. So unitary, lasting, and separate entity. So when the self-grasping relaxes, the self-centeredness relaxes. So there's first self-grasping, and then there's the self-centeredness. What about me? I need to defend this. What's happening here is the most important thing in the whole, on the whole earth. What is happening in my life is the most important thing. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing how we tend to take our life serious. This didn't happen, that didn't happen, I made this mistake, this I didn't get, I should have done this, or I missed something, I wasted my time, or so it's like we take it so serious. What's happening in this short life? It's just it's like it's so self-important. It's quite amazing. Particularly if we have already a sense of the infinite, beginningless stream of consciousness. I mean, this life is like one day, I mean, you don't take so, you don't take so important when the weather is bad for one day. Yeah. So, okay, that's a bad day. Okay. So this time around, I have a bad life. It's okay. It happened before, and it happened before. It will happen again, and it's happening. Not only on this earth. There's infinite beings who have bad days right now. It's not so important. So again, that's not that doesn't lead into indifference. So this is like this is kind of a trap you might feel, or you might be afraid through the recognition of no I, that you fall into some kind of indifference, or and some people do. They fall into like a premature kind of confused way and they think maybe they have realized emptiness, but they fall into indifference. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I don't need to do anything. Nothing really exists. That's not the realization of emptiness. To the opposite, more you taste the realization of the emptiness, the more you realize and feel that everything really matters. Everything is sacred. So it's a paradox. It's almost impossible to put it into, no, it's impossible to put into words. How is something becoming more sacred and more precious and more awesome when you realize it does not exist? It is unfindable. But it is like that. So whenever you, in your contemplation, come to that place, then you recognize that you are falling into the abyss of nihilism. So the recognition of no I reduces our self-centeredness, and with that, it increases our capacity for love and compassion and connectedness, a sense of kinship. But again, that sense of kinship, that sense of responsibility, which is also sometimes called universal responsibility, is not overwhelming because there's no I there, which could be overwhelmed. So then another point in this, how emptiness, the realization of emptiness, supports us in the response to the climate change, is and there in the beginning we need to make a leap of faith. But the experience of the reduction of the self-grasping, and with that the self-centeredness, reveals a deep wisdom in your heart. A kind of heart intuition. So it's not that you become dysfunctional with less self-grasping and less self-centeredness. You become actually more functional. Because you shift the operating system from the operating system of the mini-me and reactivity to the operating system of what is called the 5 wisdoms, now connected with the 5 Buddha families. It's a spontaneous knowing, and it's a particular wisdom I'm talking about here. It's called the all-accomplishing wisdom. It's one of the 5 wisdoms. So there is a heart knowing which somehow knows or feels spontaneously. It's not over conceptual, or what should I do? What's the best? Where could I contribute? Where should I engage myself in? It's a spontaneous knowing in each moment. And I believe that most of us, or all of us, have a sense of that sometimes. That despite any kind of rational thinking or what other people say, or you should do this is the wisest thing, something in you, I don't know, you find yourself to buy a ticket to India and fly there, or I don't know, whatever it is. You're just, you know it's the right thing. Even if your parents and everyone else, all your friends say this is the most stupid thing to do. So that could be like a bit of an approximation. And it's quite amazing and mind-blowing to be around a teacher like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who is acting from that space all the time, 100%, without any agenda, without any hope, and without any fear. So, and the last thing I want to add to this, and I guess if I would just continue to talk about how compassion and wisdom, the realization of emptiness, is what we need, what we all need on this planet. Yeah, and I'm not talking about only the Buddhist approach to this. There's only hope for any kind of survival. I mean, it's not, we are not going to survive in the way it is right now, right? The structures, they will collapse. But I guess there's still hope for some kind of survival. And what is it, what I wanted to say? Yeah, so if I think there's much more I could come up with, how this is what the human consciousness as like a field needs. Yeah, it's like this evolution away from self-centeredness into interbeing. Non-violently. A non-violent response, which can only come from insight and wisdom. But I want to add to all of this, and I don't know, I can't make right now the connection to the wisdom and compassion. It's just, I notice this is what is happening in my life. And I'm not talking so much, I don't talk so much about this. It's not like my expertise, let's say it like that. But I still also find it important that we look into what can I do in order to be in a place where I can survive and respond to the climate change also in a practical way. Not just sitting on your cushion and meditating on emptiness and compassion, but based on where you live and what your skills is and your expertise, joining others. So where can you engage yourself? Yeah. And I'm not saying, I just want to share with you what I'm doing. And I'm not saying that's possible for everyone, or that's your way to go, or you have space for that in your life. But I have explored like many different ways how to grow my own food and live from my own land. And I came to the conclusion the best way to do it is forest gardening. So I have here where I am now, 4,000 square meter of land. I bought it, and I'm growing a forest garden there, meaning it's like a permaculture system which carries itself, and it consists of forest and trees and so on and so on. I'm just saying that I don't know why I say it. It's just like, I'm not doing talking. I know how to use a chainsaw and dig land and use machines and how to grow plants and take care of them. And I've learned that when I left school. I did a few years of apprenticeship on farms. So. And yeah, maybe it's stupid what I say now, but I just need to say it, maybe like as an inspiration. And also because maybe I'm a bit impatient with some Buddhist teachings and Buddhist traditional teachings and traditional teachers who are just not talking about this. Okay. Cut this out, the last 10 minutes. It didn't have anything to do with what we are doing here. But I mean it really not like telling you what to do. It's more like, yeah. So is there any common question? I have a few more points, but responses. Did I say something stupid? And I'm very happy to be put into place, or get some feedback.
Are you planting the forest with others?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But that is something which needs to which has room for improvement, because I'm a kind of solitary person, and it's a bit difficult for me also because I'm in Denmark. But it's on my mind, and I'm trying my introvert best to connect with others. But that's actually the most difficult part for me. But I'm doing it together with another person. I mean, it's already two, yeah. So we have the land together, and we are here together. But it needs to be more connected. And of course, for me, it has been, when I left school and I started to working on farms, I mean, that's such a beautiful experience, possibility to experience this interconnectedness, this interbeing, yeah, because you really become part of the system as a farmer or as a gardener. It's not like the realization of emptiness, but it is like it's a part of interconnectedness, the conventional interconnectedness, experiencing not like conceptually, but directly by standing on the land and being the guardian of a land, that you are part of it. Yeah. You are not like the boss or something like this. You are part of the system and you can feel it. You have to work together with all the factors on the land, with water and wind and the insects and the deer and yeah. I was thinking about like three, let's say, prerequisites before that kind of meditation we just did. Yeah, the kind of not finding this solid, separate, independent, inherently out of itself findable I. Yeah, like the core, the control center. So before that, and I mean, again, there's a lot to say there, but I just picked three, and if I don't get to cover them, I can continue tomorrow. The first one is I have, it came up a few times already in feedbacks and questions, and that is the topic of fear, meeting the fear. Yeah. So when I say things or you read about, there's no I, there's no controller, there's nobody here who makes decisions, the I is unfindable. How does it make you feel? Yeah. What kind of, it might be not like a full-blown fear that might arise if you actually get into the meditation. Everyone has to go to that level of fear, which is a fear of death. It's really like the not finding of the I and the process leading to that. That's what you go through in the death process. In the death process, everything what you think you are and what you cling to and what is important and you identify with will fall away, will dissolve, because your mind doesn't have the power anymore to hold it. The process of identification and selfing needs a certain kind of energy. To keep up the sense of me and the sense of reactivity and the contraction costs energy. It really an effortful. It's normal for us so that we don't feel that exhausting effort. But in the death process, that kind of capacity will dissolve. So this emptiness meditation is going to be forced upon you. You don't have choice. You can't say, hey, just a moment, I don't want to meditate on emptiness now. I want to, I want to, I want to meditate on something else, on the breath, or on my children, or how good I did in my life, or whatever we want to, or on the Dalai Lama. Yeah, it's not going to work out, because your mind is not going to have the capacity to hold anything. So that we will meet fear, but the fear can already arise a bit like in the background, like some resistance, some not wanting to look, some kind of something in you which puts it down, like, this is just philosophy, it's too difficult for me, I don't get what they are saying, like just stuff like that, some discomfort, like no, I don't want to find out that I don't exist. I mean, I as a separate solid me, yeah, of course, there's experience, so that's not what is being negated here. And then to take that response, that fear, which can at times be a bit intensive also, or it can be just a slight something, some. So what is the direction here, of course, is to go towards it and to feel it, to explore it, to get to know it, to become more tolerant to it, to discover that fear is not dangerous, that one doesn't need to have fear of fear. It's very important. And Lama Zopa talked about that. I mean, I've heard him saying that a few times, that there is often that point where we have some kind of insights. I mean, the realization of emptiness is usually not like just one leap. It's usually like a progression, yeah, from intellectual understanding to some taste, some deepening, yeah. So, and Lama Zopa, I've heard him saying a few times, it happens that practitioners come to that place a bit, and then there's the fear, and then they contract and they don't look anymore. They feel maybe there's something wrong, or I shouldn't do this, or the resistance becomes so strong because we are so incapable of breathing with fear, with being with fear. Fear seems to be this horrible monster, this horrible enemy within us, which shouldn't be there, which we avoid at any costs. So these practices, for some time I gave these workshops called Smile at Fear. So different ways to relate to fear in a different way. Rain model from Tara Brach, Tong Len, just learning to feel difficult feelings, different, whatever you have in your toolbox. Yeah. So the second point, and if you have questions, you can interrupt me, or we can also keep them for tomorrow. The second point I wanted to make is it's really helpful to become aware of your expectations regarding realizing that there's no I. Yeah. Like, what are your ideas of how would it feel like? What do you expect would be different if you realize there's no I? Or what do you want it to be like? What do you hope it is? Stream entry, or the it's called stream entry. That's so. What would be stream entry like? So stream entry is that moment where you really see that there is no eyes and it's incontrovertible. It's like you can't not see it because you saw it. It's done. There's no eye. So what are your expectations, how that would look like? And to kind of explore that for you. Maybe you have some kind of childish hopes that then you will be above everything, or you are not getting angry anymore then, or or you have, and we come to fear again. There's also this fearful projections, like, yeah, but if I don't beat myself to work, if there's no should and must anymore, and no guilt, and like all the things which make us do things, so who is running my life if I'm not there? So can I still take care of my children when I realize there's no I? Yeah. So that would be also an expectation. And that expectation, of course, would prevent us to go deeper. Yeah. There could be also a bit of a fear. Who am I without problems? How would my life look like if I don't struggle on a daily basis with how things are? I mean, isn't that completely boring? Like, no, we shouldn't underestimate our attachment to suffering. We like it. The I like suffering because that's the food. It's like a parasite which lives from suffering. It's a bit hard to admit that we are attached to the self-pity, and I'm not good enough, and I'm not lovable, I'm a failure. There's a kind of attachment to it. It's difficult to let it go. Something in us insists, and there is a fear of going beyond that. Almost like the fear of, like, I don't know who I am. So that's all the expectations. Different kinds of like exaggerated fearful projections, but also exaggerated positive projections. And then if you become aware of those, just drop them. Look through them. Because it is completely different. It's completely different than we can imagine. So this kind of not knowing, I mean, still have faith and trust. That's the way I want to go. But also keep what is called the beginner's mind, maybe, or like just a curiosity. And of course, it is a bit inspiring and helpful to read about experiences from other people, particular experience from people in this life. I mean, there's many thousands of people who realize no self. It's not like, this kind of super far away, just for like some Tibetan man kind of realization. No, it's not like that. It's really available, and it's not enlightenment. I mean, it's not enlightenment at all. It's like far away from enlightenment. So we don't need to talk. We don't need to think about enlightenment. Then I will be enlightened, a Buddha or something. Not like that. Just liberation from self-centeredness. That's, that's big. So see, and it's also different. So it's helpful to read a particular like genuine sharings of people. I mean, there's also a lot of people who just talk bullshit, but after some while you get a sense if someone is, just parroting some non-dual shit they read in some books, yeah. So you get really a sense of that. So that's very inspiring, but the danger is there that you feel it has to be like that for you, and it isn't. It's different. It has a different you flavor, a different path. It's the same, but also unique. And it's different than you think. There's not so much changing. I mean, you still are going to need to pay your bills. And if you have not addressed the childhood trauma, that will be still there. But you will be in a much better place to work with it. To heal. You are in a much better place to heal. Yeah, maybe I can mention the last one. I mean, the third one. And it's just because it's 3 because I like 3. Because that's, my mind is not so, I can't memorize stuff a lot. Yeah. So, but 3, it's okay. 3 I can handle. So that's why I like to make 3 points. Yeah, that's the only reason. If I would be a bit more brighter, then I would do 5 points. Yeah, but 3 points, that's fine for me. And I think I'm going to go into that tomorrow a bit more. And that's get in touch with the real. Get in touch with reality as it is. And so what that means is present moment awareness of the 5 senses. And in a maybe in a focused way, like focusing on a particular channel, like sounds or sensations, sensations of the breath or taste or smell, emotional sensations, but also just physical sensations in the body. So to make that part of your mindfulness practice, you could say, in your formal meditation practice. So if you do stuff like mantra or prayers or stuff like that, you could consider to make that also part of your practice. But also, of course, in daily life, to have that gravitation to sense experience. What is a sound? Like the sound of a bird without any mental images, without memories, without comparing, without extra labels. Yeah, that's like the gravitation. And to do that with a wonderment and a gratitude and a deep enjoyment. Really appreciating beauty, the mystery of feeling something, the mystery and the beauty and the blessing of hearing, of seeing something. And following that question, which is an open question. It's not like a question to be answered. It's just a question which can guide us into that, is what is there without words? What is there in the sound without comparison, without memory, without some filters or preconceived ideas? What is there? Is there anything? That's an interesting question, which would be answered differently in different philosophical schools of Buddhism. Is there actually something there? So it's a question you can follow deeper and deeper. In that way, we start to recognize the difference between fantasy and reality. We start to recognize the difference of labeling, projection, and what is. Such an important differentiation that we get a sense of the process of labeling and thinking and memory and conceptualization and words, and that's something else. Okay. Yeah, as I said before, at the end of our teachings, Lama Zopa saying the best way to increase our potential to wake up in this life is to reflect and meditate on emptiness. So, well, traditionally said that's the best way to accumulate merit. It's more precious than making jewels of offerings to all the Buddhas in all universes. Yeah. I don't know if this was like worldly what I've heard by Lama Zopa, but kind of, yeah, in that direction. And that's what we did, yeah, in our baby way, reflecting, thinking, looking at this, not understanding, but still looking and thinking about it. So it's very powerful, and that we can now explode into this crying earth as our contribution. With lots of love and care and the capacity to witness, to be a witness, a loving witness. Still doing what we can do to contribute. Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully I see you tomorrow. Same time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.